This series is adapted from the real-life Chernobyl incident in the Soviet Union. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant accident, also known as the Chernobyl incident, was a nuclear leak disaster that once shocked the world. It was a nuclear reactor accident that actually occurred during the Soviet era. The incident is considered the most severe nuclear power accident in history, and was also the first in the world to be classified as a level 7 major event. The amount of radiation released by the nuclear explosion at that time was more than 400 times that of the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima during World War II. More than 20,000 people died on the spot due to massive radiation exposure, and 3.2 million were exposed to excessive radiation. As a result, 170,000 people died one after another within 10 years following the accident. The affected area extended over a radius of more than 300 kilometers, and to this day nothing grows there and it remains uninhabited. Today, let's take a look at how many unknown secrets are hidden behind this epic disaster. The story takes place in the early hours of the 26th of April, 1986. While on duty at the nuclear power plant, the staff suddenly witnessed an unbelievable scene inside the reactor. More than 100 control rods, each weighing over 300 kilograms, began to move erratically and inexplicably. In all his years on the job, he had never seen such a terrifying sight. He immediately ran toward the control room to alert the other team members. At the same time, the technicians in the control room also noticed something was wrong through alarm signals from their instruments, and seeing the crisis, they quickly pressed the emergency button. Little did they know that this very action caused even more fuel to explode directly due to excessive steam pressure. Just as the reactor core's power surged from the original 3.2 billion watts to 331 billion watts, the core could no longer withstand the pressure. With a loud explosion, the reactor's lid was blown off. Immediately after, a large amount of oxygen from the air rushed in and combined with the extremely hot graphite. This series of butterfly effects ultimately led to the disaster. The terrified employees quickly rushed to the control room to inform Director Dyatlov of the reactor core explosion. But Dyatlov simply assumed they were talking nonsense due to being overly frightened. He firmly believed that, at worst, a graphite-moderated water-cooled reactor could only melt down at high temperatures, and that a core explosion was simply impossible. However, when he arrived in person, what greeted his eyes was a large area covered with scattered graphite debris, and at a glance, the reactor facility was completely unrecognizable. It was obvious that the employees had not lied, the reactor core had indeed exploded. However, when he returned to the control room again, he did not tell everyone the truth. Instead, he continued to act stubbornly, forcing his subordinates to go to the core and manually reload the control rods. Obviously, everyone knew that once they went there, their bodies would inevitably be exposed to radiation hazards. But in order to keep their jobs, they had no choice but to obey Dyatlov's orders. The three of them forcibly pried open the severely damaged door and stayed behind to hold it open, while the other two quickly slipped into the reactor core room. However, when the two entered the room, the scene before their eyes left them utterly shocked. The reactor core had been completely destroyed, and the entire center of the reactor had turned into a wasteland. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the two immediately ran outside, while the employee holding the door was suddenly struck by severe leakage at the base of his thigh due to radiation from the door itself. The disaster had already occurred, and any measures they could take now would be in vain. Because the nuclear leak had not been made public, the firefighters who arrived at the scene began extinguishing the fire without any protection.